My stepmother just pushed her off the stage. The gasp sliced through the hall like a whip. I landed hard, palms scraping the wood, ankle twisted beneath the weight of my body and the spotlight burning into my humiliation. My brother's engagement party froze. Laughter. Music. Champagne flutes midair. It all stopped the moment I hit the floor. Before we begin, drop a comment and tell us where are you from and from which city you're watching our videos? And after watching the whole video, don't forget to tell us what would you do in this situation? Be honest, tell me in the comments below. We read every comment. Let's begin. I didn't cry. Not because it didn't hurt, God, it did, but because I had already learned that pain doesn't always show up in bruises. Sometimes, it's the sting of your mother's dress being mocked in front of 100 people. She wore that, my stepmother hissed into the mic, smirking down at me as she adjusted her pearls. Of course she did. Desperate for attention. Pathetic. My brother didn't flinch.
He didn't even look at me.
He sipped his champagne and whispered something to his fiancée, who laughed like it was a joke at brunch. I rose slowly, my ankle screaming. I grabbed the edge of the stage to steady myself. But then came the words that twisted deeper than the fall ever could. You're just a failure, she said, loud enough for the entire room to hear. You've always been a burden. Your real mother would be ashamed. There it was. That name. That woman. My real mother. Gone years ago. And now they were using her memory like a knife. The crowd stared, some with pity, most with apathy. Relatives I hadn't seen in years shifted uncomfortably, whispering into their flutes. I felt heat in my chest, not shame, not even rage, but something sharper. Resolve. Then I heard the doors open. A deep, calm voice followed. Is this the part where I step in, or do we let this circus continue? Every head turned. There he stood. Gray tailored suit, open collar, watch worth more than most people's homes, and a calm steel in his expression that made my stepmother's face drain of all color. My husband. Yes, husband. The man none of them had ever met. Logan. I breathed, my voice cracking, not from pain, but from the sheer shock of seeing him here, in this moment. He didn't smile. He didn't wave. He walked toward the stage like he owned the building. Then he reached me, offering a hand like I was royalty rising from battle. I took it, trembling. I told you I'd only step in when they showed their true faces, he said softly to me. I nodded. They did. He turned to the crowd. Then let me introduce myself. I'm Logan Whitaker, billionaire investor, CEO of Whitaker Capital, and husband to the woman your family just tried to humiliate.
The room gasped.
Several guests dropped their glasses. I've been quiet for too long, he continued, voice calm but laced with power, because she asked me not to interfere. But watching a grown woman shove my wife off a stage because she honored her dead mother? That ends now. My stepmother stammered. Why didn't we know you were married? Logan's smile was sharp. Because unlike some people, we don't need approval to exist. Her lips curled. So you're the reason she thinks she's better than this family. No, he said, voice cutting. I'm the reason you're about to learn what it means to lose everything you took for granted. And just like that, the tone shifted. No longer humiliation, but reckoning. And this was just the beginning. The room didn't just go quiet, it froze. The kind of silence that makes people suddenly remember every cruel thing they've ever said. My stepmother's eyes darted toward the guests, judges, doctors, business partners, every one of them watching her unravel beneath the chandeliers she had personally bragged about just hours ago. You don't scare me, she snapped, though her voice trembled. You don't belong here. Logan tilted his head, amused. I belong anywhere my wife is. And as for fear, I don't need to scare you. You're doing a fine job of ruining yourself. My father stepped forward, adjusting his tie like he still held any power in this house. Listen, Mr. Whitaker, we're not interested in your theatrics. This is our family celebration, not your playground. Finally, Logan said, folding his arms. The man who stood there and watched his daughter be pushed off a stage and said nothing. Let's talk about family, shall we? My father's jaw clenched. I could see the cracks beginning to show. All those years of polite disrespect, of eye rolls and backhanded comments, they thought I'd just stay quiet forever. Because that's what I always did. Until now. You called her a failure, Logan continued. You mocked her career, her choices, her life. But did you know she runs 2 nonprofit programs? One for abused women. One for veterans suffering PTSD. Or were you too busy to notice? More murmurs. A few heads turned toward me. My cousin Clara whispered something under her breath, clearly stunned. Even Uncle Ray, the smug real estate guy who once called me charity case chic, was shifting uncomfortably in his chair. I told you not to wear that dress, my stepmother suddenly hissed, desperate to reclaim the narrative. You knew it would cause tension. And you knew it was my mother's, I replied calmly, finally finding my voice. You just couldn't stand to see me wear something she left me. Her face paled further. It's old. Faded. Outdated, she snapped. No, I said, stepping up onto the stage again. It's love. It's memory.
And its strength.
Something you've never had the grace to understand. I looked around the hall. Every one of you who laughed, who looked the other way when they insulted me, you're all part of it. You let them do this. Silence again. Not just awkward this time. Ashamed. Logan reached into his jacket, pulled out a document, and tossed it onto the edge of the cake table. What is that? My father asked, voice tight. The deed, Logan said. To this venue. Gasps echoed. He smiled slightly. Effective last week, it's under my name. Which means this engagement party. This building? The staff? Everything you're standing in? Ours now. The staff at the back nodded. One of the servers, Maria, a kind woman who'd quietly handed me tissues in the bathroom earlier, gave me a small wink. My brother finally stood up, panic flashing in his eyes. You're ruining my engagement. No, I said. Your fiancé's stepmother ruined it when she tried to throw me out. I just stopped pretending I deserved it. Then Logan added coldly, you might want to check your bank account, by the way. That little business deal you had brewing with Danvers Tech? I pulled the funding this morning. What? My brother's voice cracked. I own the majority stake, Logan replied. It's gone. The room erupted in whispers. I stood there quietly, letting the chaos unfold around me. Not because I wanted revenge, but because for the first time in my life, I had something stronger than pain. Proof. Proof that kindness doesn't mean weakness. That silence isn't surrender. And that one voice, raised with truth, can shake a hall full of liars. And we were just getting started. For a moment, no one moved. The tension in the room clung to the air like humidity before a thunderstorm. A few guests stood awkwardly near the back, clutching champagne flutes like lifelines, unsure if they should sit down or slip out unnoticed. The DJ fumbled, clearly unsure if he should hit play or stay frozen behind his laptop. Someone whispered, "Is this real?" And someone else muttered, "I told you she was hiding something." I took a slow breath, standing next to Logan as the last few seconds of silence ticked by. My body still ached from the fall, but I wasn't shaking anymore. The fear, the old, heavy fear I'd carried since my father remarried, was finally gone. And in its place?
Clarity.
Logan turned back toward my stepmother. It takes a very specific kind of cruelty, he said, voice low but firm, to push someone in front of a crowd. You didn't just humiliate her. You tried to erase the last connection she had to her mother. That woman was no saint, my stepmother snapped. Logan's expression darkened. And yet, even from the grave, she's more graceful than you'll ever be. That one stung. My stepmother's jaw clenched, lips trembling as she struggled to form a response. But before she could, my father finally stepped down from the platform and crossed toward us. You've made your point, he said, trying to keep his voice controlled, measured, like he hadn't just sat silently while his wife pushed me. We don't need a scene. Didn't seem to bother you when she made one, I said quietly, not looking away. You came here to cause drama, he hissed under his breath. That dress, you knew what it meant to her. You baited her. No, I said, finally locking eyes with him. I came here to honor my mother. The only mistake I made was thinking I could be part of this family without having to hide who I really am. He scoffed, gesturing around the room. You're overreacting. You think wearing an old dress gives you power? No, I replied. But surviving all of you, that does. A few people gasped. My Aunt Janice shifted nervously. Uncle Mark avoided eye contact. Then Logan added, You know what's interesting? For years, you let them treat her like an outsider. And yet, she's the one who paid off your second mortgage, isn't she? My father froze. The color drained from his face. Logan continued, Didn't think I knew about that, did you? Last year, when the business almost went under, you begged her not to tell anyone. Said it would ruin your image. So she quietly wired you the money. More gasps. People were definitely paying attention now. $70,000, I said softly. I gave it to you because I thought, maybe for once, I could earn your respect. And what did he say? Logan asked, looking around. Not thank you. Not even an apology. No, he told her to keep it quiet. Said it was between family. My father looked around the room like a man being cornered in his own home. That wasn't supposed to be public knowledge. Neither was your wife's little outburst, I said. But here we are. Suddenly, my brother stormed forward, face red with anger. You're doing this just to ruin my engagement. No, I said, finally turning to him. I stayed quiet while you mocked my career. I stayed quiet when you made jokes about my clothes, my apartment, my life. But I'm not staying quiet while the people who raised me act like I'm disposable. You are so dramatic, his fiancée snapped. This isn't about your sad little backstory. Logan turned to her, voice ice cold. My legal team will be in touch tomorrow. The wedding venue you booked? They just canceled your reservation. Her face twisted. What? I bought the property last month, he said with a shrug. Call it a gut feeling. Chaos. Complete, stunned, breathless chaos. Guests began whispering. Some started leaving. Others stayed, hungry for the fallout. My stepmother sank into a chair, fanning herself with a napkin as if the room had suddenly gotten hotter. And in the middle of it all, I stood tall, holding Logan's hand, no longer afraid of how they saw me. Let them see me now. Let them remember this. I wasn't the failure. I was the one they'd underestimated for too long, and the moment they tried to tear me down publicly, they handed me the very stage they thought they were pushing me off. And I wasn't done yet. The engagement party had turned into a reckoning. People weren't mingling anymore. They were watching. Some from behind pillars, some sitting stiffly in gold chairs, and others just pretending to text while secretly recording. No one wanted to miss whatever would happen next. Logan leaned toward me and asked, Are you ready? I nodded once, slowly. More than I've ever been. Good, he said, slipping a flash drive from his pocket. Then I think it's time we tell them everything. My father narrowed his eyes. What the hell is that? Oh, Logan said, raising his voice for the room to hear. Just a little family history I've been holding on to, at my wife's request, of course. She wanted to handle things with grace. She asked me to give her family time to grow. He turned to face the crowd. But now, I think the rest of you should know the truth too. What truth? My brother snapped. Let's start with the money, Logan said casually. You see, while everyone here kept calling her a failure, she was funding half this family from the shadows. Not just the mortgage, no. College tuition, medical bills, even your engagement ring, mate. My brother's mouth dropped open. You're lying, he barked. Logan just smiled. Wanting to play the audio from the bank call? Because I have it. Wire confirmation, too. All eyes turned toward my brother now. He stumbled back a step, like the weight of the room had physically pushed him. And you, Logan added, facing my stepmother, you always said she didn't contribute. That she lived off your scraps. Want to explain the $30,000 she gave you 2 years ago when your boutique nearly went bankrupt? Her face flushed deep red. You said you'd never tell anyone, she whispered. I didn't, I replied softly. You did. She stood up, shaky. I needed help, and she offered. But she wasn't supposed to use that as leverage. I never used it as leverage, I said, finally letting my voice rise. I kept every receipt, every message, every favor silent. Because I thought maybe one day you'd see me, you'd say thank you, you'd apologize. But you never did. My father tried to cut in again, but Logan lifted a hand. I've only got one more thing, he said. And I think this one might interest everyone. He turned to face the projector at the back wall. DJ, mind playing that file I gave you? There was a flicker of hesitation. Then the screen lit up. And suddenly, a recorded phone conversation crackled through the speakers. My stepmother's voice, unmistakable. She's so easy to humiliate. I'll push her off that stage if she wears that dress. It's the perfect moment, public, dramatic. She'll never show her face again. The room erupted. People gasped out loud. My uncle stood up in shock. My father's face went stone white. And my stepmother? She staggered backward like someone had slapped her. No. And oh, that was taken out of context, she yelled. Logan stepped forward. You arranged it. You planned to push her in front of everyone. And you admitted it. I felt the breath catch in my throat. I had felt, that it wasn't a spontaneous act. But hearing it, seeing their faces, it was something else entirely. My cousin Clara walked over and handed me a napkin. Her voice trembled. I'm sorry. I should have stood up for you. I didn't know. I know, I whispered. From the other side of the room, people began leaving. Not out of boredom, but out of shame. They couldn't stand to be seen as part of it anymore. The respectable masks were crumbling. And I didn't feel guilty, for 1 second. Logan looked at me again. You ready for the last part? I nodded. Let's end this. He turned to the room one final time. I'm Logan Whitaker, he said. And as of yesterday, I've acquired full ownership of the coastal estate the family has spent generations bragging about.
Gasps.
That's right, he continued. It was up for auction. Your father never told anyone. He was drowning in debt and didn't want the family to know. So I bought it under my wife's name. All eyes whipped toward me. I stepped forward. That house, I said. The one where my mother grew up? The one you told me I'd never be welcome in again? It's mine now, and none of you are invited. The words hit like a bomb. My father collapsed into a chair. My brother just stared at the floor, unmoving. My stepmother shook her head like she still thought she could undo it. But it was done. I had finally said what needed to be said. And they finally heard me.
But this wasn't the end.
This was just the beginning of my real life on my terms. The air in the room had shifted. No longer heavy. No longer thick with shame or judgment. It was quiet, but not the kind of silence that weighs you down. It was relief. For me, at least. I wasn't standing in front of a family anymore. I was standing in front of people I used to think I owed something. Now I saw them for what they were, less powerful than I ever believed. Just flawed, frightened people hiding behind titles, old money, and shallow pride. I looked at my father. He still hadn't said a word. Just sat there, staring past me like if he didn't look directly at me, none of it would be real. You could have stood up for me, I said, voice calm. Even once. He blinked. I didn't know it would go this far. You let it go this far, I replied. He didn't argue. He had no defense left. I turned to my brother. You were never my enemy. But you were never my protector either. He looked up finally, eyes glassy. Why didn't you tell us about him? Because you never asked about me, I said. Only about what I could give you. He didn't reply. He couldn't. And then, finally, I looked at my stepmother. She opened her mouth, maybe to beg, maybe to lash out, but I shook my head before she could speak. I'm done. 2 simple words. But they carried years of silence behind them. Logan stepped closer and placed his arm around my shoulders, grounding me. We have a car waiting. We turned toward the exit. The sound of our steps echoed through the room. Nobody dared to follow. Just before I walked out, I paused at the door and looked back once. They were still sitting there, surrounded by glittering lights, melting ice in crystal glasses, and a party that would never finish. I hope you find peace someday, I said. But don't come looking for mine. Then we walked out. Into the night. Into our own future. And this time, I wasn't walking away in shame. I was walking away in freedom.